Hi guys. So I just want to give you a demonstration for assignment 1. And the first thing I want to start out with is a little bit of tool use. And I want you guys to notice that on your T-square there's this lip here. And what that's for is to saddle up to the edge of a table and sort of clip on, and then that way you can make a perfect right angle. So the best thing to do, because there's that lip there, is to use this cutting mat that's got a little height to it. And put your paper down and put your T-square up on top. And then you make sure that the whole piece of paper is right aligned with the edge of the T-square. And then you would hold it down, of course, and draw your line. And then you've got a line that's a perfect perpendicular to the edge of the sheet. Okay, so we're working on a grayscale, and it's going to look something like this. Now this one has 14 steps, I believe. Yours is only required to be 10, but of course if you want to do more, you can, and that is welcomed. And the way that we're going to get to this is by dividing up one of your Bristol sheets of paper. Now, there are instructions for how to do the layout on Canvas, and if you're very literal, the instructions will work well if you're there. But this demo will show you very visually how to do it. So what I've got going here is I've divided my sheet into 10 inches long and 3 inches high, and then that same 10 inches and another inch here. And then down at the bottom, I've made one that's 10 inches long and 4 inches tall. So this will be the mounting board on which we'll put all of our grayscale sections. So when you are going to cut, you need to use your metal ruler like this. And the way that you use this is to place it down on whatever you're using. Make sure that your fingers are away from the edge. Take your X-Acto knife and notice how I keep my blade upside down on my X-Acto knife. That's for safety, and I highly recommend that you do that and get in the habit of doing that. And when you're ready to use it, then you pull the blade out and put it back in. It's ready to use. So keep your fingers away from the edge, and then just steady pressure down right on whatever you're cutting, and that'll come right off. So what I'm going to be cutting out of this is each of these sections that I've made. So this here is wastage, and this over here is wastage as well. So I'm cutting each of these out, and what I'll end up with then is a strip like this that I just cut the corner off of, but it'll be a full strip that's 10 inches long and 3 inches high. I'll get another strip then that is 10 inches long and an inch high. And then my background, my backing board then would be 10 inches long and 4 inches high. Once I've got this 10-inch long piece, I want to subdivide this into 10 smaller sections. So what I do there then is I use my ruler, and since this is 10 inches long, it'll be easy. I just mark 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. And then use the T-square again and line that up and make my divisions. So then I'll cut out each of these small rectangles. Again, fingers away from the edge of the ruler. cut out all 10 strips so that I've got a bunch that look like this. Okay, I've got a bunch that look like that. I'll have my 4-inch deep by 10-inch long mounting board. 10 of these little strips and then 1 of the long strips. So what you're going to do is you're going to paint each of these different little strips a different value. So you'll leave one that's white, you'll paint one flat black from your black tube of paint, and then you've got to figure out all of the values in between. So for instance, I've got a bunch that are already painted, and you can see they're all different grays. Here's my full black one. There's white ones there. Here's another gray. So I'll have 10 of those. And we'll then take these 10, and this one will paint a neutral gray, and I'll explain that in a second. I'll go like this. I'll use my backing board, and I'll glue everything down to the backing board in the correct order. So with the ones I've got cut out, it would be something like this. And I would have 10 of them, all different smooth gradation of grays, of values. Now, the operation, the way you should go about this is to get your black, and paint one of those squares black. And then what you want to try and do, we know what white looks like. You want to try to hit a gray that's right in between black and white. And it's not going to work to just use 50% black and 50% white, because black has much more power as a pigment than white, so 50% isn't going to work. So what you want to do is mix these up completely. And it looks like I've hit pretty close to neutral between black and white. Yeah, so we can think of black, then middle gray, and then white. And then what you'll do is you'll try to hit in between black and middle gray. So you might take a little bit of that middle gray and add a little bit of black to get an even darker gray. And make sure you mix these up completely so you don't have streaks in the paint. So there I've got a gray in between the middle gray and the black. And then I would try to hit a gray in between the black and that middle gray, in between the middle gray and that gray, and so on. So the order then would be for you to go first strip white, next strip black, then try to hit a gray somewhere in the middle. This long strip should be exact middle gray. And the idea is that after watching the slides about value, we want to see this middle gray. What does it look like contrasting the white and how it looks very dark there? And then that same gray contrasting the black and how it looks very bright there relatively. So black, then white, then middle-ish, definite middle gray. I've got the middle, I've got black, so then I try to hit in between those two. And since I've got this one in between those two, now I can calibrate which ones go in between that one and black, or that one and middle. Same thing with the other side. We've got middle gray, we've got white, and then in between those two. And then since we have this one, we can calibrate what these should look like, and then what these should look like. This is actually a pretty difficult game to play because you'll find yourself having to go back and forth, back and forth. Just one more note on painting. The paints we have are called gouache, and gouache is essentially watercolor, but it's got chalk added to it to make it more opaque. So you know watercolor is pretty transparent. Well, this stuff's really opaque. And what you want to do, the way you use this paint, is you add just a drop of water to the paint, maybe 2 at most, just to get a little bit more flow to the paint. And that will help prevent brush strokes from appearing in the little rectangles that you paint. Then when you go to paint, you just get a little bit on your brush and then paint all in one direction across the rectangle that you're doing, all in one direction. And with the gray paint, really one layer ought to do fine. So, like this one here, if I go all in one direction, that'll get a nice uniform surface to use. So, once all of these have dried and I've put them in the order I think they should be in, that's when you're going to the mounting board that you've cut out. So you've cut this out, and that's where you're taking the glue. And really the way you're supposed to use this glue, this rubber cement, is you're supposed to put it on the strip and also on whatever you're mounting on. Let those dry for just a little bit, a few seconds, and then you place it down. You don't want a huge glob of it, otherwise the thing will slide around a little bit. So I would paste down all of my grays in their appropriate order, however that works out for you. And then I would put that neutral gray strip right across the bottom. And again, we would end up with this. Now, this is a really good one. Like I mentioned, they went above and beyond and did 14 steps. This one attempted to do 14 as well, but it's not as good. And the reason for that is this isn't full black over here. And you can see where it goes from this gray to white. It's a huge jump. So what you're wanting is this smooth gradation. And I will post a picture of this in the assignment description. Be sure to ask me questions in the assignment 1 discussion area.